Is the lore of vampires any good in patch 5.3? So as you know, this is a title format I borrowed from other sources, and at times it lends itself to rhetorical questions. We know the lore is good, it's just a matter of taking its measure and seeing how it's good. Also, CA likes to tinker with lores, so from time to time I might need to update such videos, but that's why the patch version is cited. In the first place, while there can be strange mixes with unusual lords, the plain lore of vampires is used by the Vampire Counts faction lords generally, and by necromancers generally, with the only vampire heroes using it being Vlad and Isabella in their legendary hero guises. On the Vampire Coast side, an admiral can be dedicated to the lore of vampires, so it actually helps me out to make this video so I can finish those videos sometimes too. Moreover, unlike the Vampire Counts, the Vampire Captain heroes can use lore of vampires and are often an army's sole source of that magic, where on the Count side, most any lord could be a competent caster as well as any other generic. Having a necromancer do it just frees them up for other perks, of which the skill tree has many, but that's for another video. The lore of vampires passive, the Curse of Undeath, at 0.05% healing per second for all undead units on your side. This is important if you're using allied or Sylvanian regiments, but otherwise you can just assume everything gets a little healing. The duration of 7 seconds. I just happened to hear Legend of Total War say in one video to the effect that 0 to 1 seconds is bonus, so it's really 8 seconds, or 7 past the initial activation, which is a second in real time. We'll take what we can get. If entities are fully healed, this can revive other entities that fell in that exact battle. Note that except for the duration, it's equal to what you'd get from an Unholy Lodestone regeneration effect, but since it isn't the same, yes, it will stack with other stuff. Like, Invocation of Nehek is the bread and butter of the lore, no question at all. Without extra pips or other help, it is also a significant expense. 7 wins is required just for the basic version, granting 0.8% healing per second for 18 seconds, 30-second cooldown after, a generous 200 range. The upgraded version costs 13 wins and creates an area of 35 meters, but only 4 units are affected maxed by the healing. That's a lot better than 1, sure. Just keep the big picture in mind. Nurgle's cheats for healing have been dragged into line, so vampires may well be number 1 at the healing game again, at least over the long haul. Van Hel's Danse Macabre is a spell many lords have as default alongside the basic Nehek, though some don't. At a mere 4 wins, the basic version with 200 meter range and 29 seconds duration, 28 seconds cooldown, grants plus 25% speed, try not to be me and forget this is a thing, and plus 24 melee attack, which is what I'm sure most people remember when fighting vampires because it is a severe annoyance when used against you. Vampire units tend to have lower attack stats, but many have high damage, so one of these can turn a high damage, mild melee attack unit into a real killer. It puts the thumb on the scales. But the upgraded version with the same duration and cooldown has a 35 meter radius effect and affects all units in that bubble for the duration. And yes, I used effect and affect properly in the same sentence just now. It can be done. Raise Dead is used to summon a group of bog standard zombies without any upgrades from the tech tree or lore buffs, so they really are a meat shield. But hey, sometimes that's exactly what you need, an instant bodyguard of meat. 5 wins is for the default spell, without buffs, like those the necromancers get. Range is a mere 50 meters, with a cooldown of 39 seconds. The unit itself will last a while before it disintegrates on its own, or just gets killed, but remember, zombies have 12,000 range hit points on Ultra in terms of the entire unit. It's a lot of chaff to scythe through. The upgraded version only costs 6 wins and summons skeletons instead for a slightly sturdier bodyguard. And, well, they have shields if that matters. Whatever you summon, CA in its wisdom gave a summon cap for the spell of 7 summons. Necromancers get bonuses to that too. So for the advanced... wait, I'm forgetting one? Oh yeah, everyone forgets about this! Gaze of Nagash! A magic missile spell that you fire for 7 wins on a single enemy, 105 range damage with 71% armor piercing, plus explosive damage of 95%, with 68% of this armor piercing, well counting as magical attack, times 5 for the number of projectiles, range 250 meters, cooldown a high 44 seconds. Now, magic missiles did get improved in various patches, but even I haven't actually tested this out much to feel if it's better. Thing is, the Overcast version takes the same spell, doubles the wins required to 14, and doubles the projectiles. So, yeah, in theory this is actually not bad, but the old problem is opportunity cost. Which brings us to Curse of Years. I heard this got buffed somehow. Anyway, it adds 15 seconds to all cooldowns for the targets, and otherwise is like the reverse of Danse Macabre. Anything in the 35-meter radius, 200-meter range bubble gets minus 25% speed and minus 24 melee attack. Oh yeah, that's the buff. Stuff affected is now silenced, so spellcasters hit by this are utterly useless for the duration, which is 32 seconds, with a 47-second cooldown. Also, there is no so-called upgraded version, you just get reduced cost and cooldown, and that means it's only 1 pip on the Lords, which can be very convenient. Now we get to the star of the show that makes everyone forget that what's-its-name magic missile spell even exists. Wind of Death! The one, the only. And this makes me glad I did this video because there's something here I didn't know, or didn't remember. Base version, 15 wins, 150 meter range, ground targets only, 5 second duration, 6 meter radius, 20 meters per second movement speed. So it'll travel 100 meters before stopping, and inflicts 24 points of magical damage, 100% of which penetrates armor. Cooldown is a harsh 44 seconds. So that's a fair bit, but it's not the monstrosity we know to fear. So let's look at the upgraded version. Okay, that's 20 wins, not that much more. Radius is 8 meters, so it's wider, that's nice. Damage is 72 magical damage per entity affected per second, but the wind travels, so yeah. That's a lot more Wait, only 33% is armor piercing now? See, I didn't even know that, or remembered at least. So only the 24 we had from the base version of the spell is guaranteed armor piercing damage. Plus 1. It's actually 1 more for 25. The rest is base damage. It may, or it may not, penetrate the armor of the target. Obviously more likely the more the target is dressed in rags like flagellants, or actually are flagellants. So setting aside any spell resistance targets might have, like Dwarf Slayers, it's gonna hurt. And just to be clear, Dwarf Slayers only have 35% spell resistance standard and no armor, so they're still getting a wallop of hurt that Longbeards will better withstand. Point is, the spell goes from it hurts to oh my god, there's nothing left, depending on what you've hit. For reference, and I've mentioned it in other videos, the bog standard Empire Swordsman has 30 armor default, which goes up with text and stuff, and 69 health per entity. It is possible to 100% erase Crossbowman from the Overcast spell. Point is, anything that actually survives is going to be crippled, probably terrified, or crumbling/disintegrating, and if you've caught enough things in its snare, you've gone a long way toward winning the battle. The problem? Your own chaff might be caught up in it, but that's probably a sacrifice you're willing to make. This wraps up our overview of the lore. Something I didn't bother to test because it's a niche case at best, but can you really not Nahek units that are fighting on city walls? Tell me in the comments. Oh, and if any of you, I mean a single one, uses Gaze of Nagash, mention it too, I'm curious. I think I just need to play campaigns long enough and I'll get more feedback on that one. It might be a better option against Chosen than Wind of Death. Oh well, that's why vampire counts can use death and shadow magic in the faction, right? Although some of you tell me that you don't really like using vampires for magic. Okay. Take care and have fun sweeping hundreds of mortal souls off the battlefield at once. Seriously, it's hard not to have fun doing it. You have to be actively trying not to make an evil laugh.